Today, we're going to dive into something that, well, you might just recognize in yourself. We're talking about the hidden struggles that often come with a really, really active and sometimes unquiet mind. So let's just start with a feeling I bet you know well. Does your brain ever feel like it has way too many tabs open? All at once, all streaming different information? And have you ever desperately wished you could just find an off switch, but it's just not there? If any of that sounds familiar, you are in exactly the right place. We're gonna get into why that happens. All right, so to really get to the bottom of this, we've gotta start by tearing down a pretty big and honestly a very persistent idea. And that is the genius myth. When we think of a genius, what comes to mind? It's usually this picture of effortless brilliance, right? Someone who's always confident, makes decisions in a snap. But for so many people, the reality is a world away. It's more like a constant churn of overthinking. It's that nagging fear that you're going to be exposed as a fraud. Yep, that's imposter syndrome. And then there's this weird trap called analysis paralysis, where you think so much about something you can't actually do anything. The gap between that myth and the reality, it's absolutely huge. Okay, so if that's the myth, then what's really going on under the hood? Well, that brings us to the core idea we're talking about today, the unquiet mind. Now, the word you really need to zero in on here is involuntary. This isn't a choice. The unquiet mind is, well, it's the default setting. It's like your brain is this superpowered pattern-seeking machine that you just can't power down. Imagine being forced to run a mental marathon every single day, a marathon you never even signed up for. That's the kind of deep, pervasive exhaustion we're talking about. So we've defined it, but what does this process actually look like when it's happening? Let's break down the cognitive cycle of this overactive brain. Okay, so think of this cycle like a self-fueling engine. It just keeps going and going. It usually kicks off with what's called heightened perception. Basically, your brain's filter is just set way wider than most people's, so it lets in a ton more information from the world around you. But of course, it doesn't just stop there. All that extra stuff gets put through this really deep, multi-layered processing, and that kicks off an automatic, nonstop search for patterns and connections, which, you guessed it, leads to one place: profound mental exhaustion. It's a relentless loop that's incredibly hard to break out of. And all this constant mental activity, it creates some really specific challenges that, honestly, most people never even see. So let's talk about these hidden burdens of brilliance. The first one is a true paradox: analysis paralysis. This is where one of your greatest strengths, the ability to see every single angle, every possible outcome, actually becomes a cage. When you can vividly imagine 20 different branching paths for even a simple choice, taking that first step can feel monumental. There's this quote that just nails the feeling. It's like standing before 1,000 doors, knowing the perfect key is in your pocket, but being too overwhelmed by the sheer number of locks to even begin. Wow. That really captures it, right? Your mind sees so many variables that it just freezes. The strength of seeing everything becomes the very thing that stops you from doing anything. All right, next up is something people almost never connect with having a high intellect: emotional intensity. But it makes sense, doesn't it? A brain that thinks deeply is often a brain that feels deeply too. And this quote just says it all. To see the world in high definition is to also feel it in high definition. Every joy is ecstatic, every sorrow profound. When your brain is wired to process the world in like 4K resolution, your emotions come in 4K too. The joy can be absolutely ecstatic, but the sorrow can feel bottomless. It's like living life with the emotional volume turned all the way up all the time. So you take this constant overthinking, you add in these intense feelings, and where does that often lead? Well, for many, it leads to our third burden: a profound sense of social alienation. When your internal world is this complex, it can be incredibly hard to feel like anyone really gets you. This quote just hits so hard. You speak a language of intricate connections and abstract possibilities in a world that often prefers simple statements. The loneliness is in the translation. It's that constant, tiring effort of having to translate your own thoughts just to be part of a conversation. It can make you feel like an outsider, even when you're surrounded by people you care about. So, where does that leave us? Is high intelligence a gift, or is it a curse? The truth is, it's just not that simple. It really is a double-edged sword. The thing is, you can't have one side without the other. They are fundamentally linked. That incredible gift for rapid learning is inseparable from the burden of mental fatigue. That deep empathy that allows for profound connection is tied directly to that overwhelming emotional intensity. And that unique genius for seeing patterns others miss, it's the very same trait that can make you feel so profoundly alone. This leaves us with a really challenging question to chew on. Our world relentlessly celebrates the speed and power of the mind. But when you understand this duality, you realize the real challenge isn't just about thinking faster. It's learning to manage the engine. So what if we started to value a mind's quiet just as much as we value its speed? What would it look like to find strength not just in processing power, but in stillness? That's definitely something to think about.